getting into fitness is so complicated and so daunting for especially someone who has never worked out. So if you have to talk to somebody who has been sedentary all of his or her life, or maybe somebody who was active in high school years, college years, but now it has been 10 or 15 years, haven't really done anything to be physically active. How do I start my fitness journey?
Yeah, I think first thing is to, first big step is to just start, make that decision and show up. Once that is done, what I strongly believe in is that for the first week for the first couple of weeks, it's important to just move. It does not need to be lifting weights at all. It does not need to be doing extreme amount of stretches and things like that. The idea is just come, show up and do the thing that you were supposed to do and celebrate that. As long as that is happening, coming a little deeper into the training side of things, there are only certain ways in which how the human body is supposed to move, which are the 5 basic movement patterns. There is a squat and bend, which includes hip hinge and the squat. There is single leg, which is when we are walking, we are on single leg, so it's very functional. So when we do at the gym, things like lunges and all come into the single leg category. There is push, the upper body vertical and horizontal push. So a bench press is a horizontal push. Or in fact, bench press is lifting weights. A push-up is a horizontal push. Pull is when we do things like rowing and all of that. And there is rotation. So these are 5 basic movement patterns. The idea in the beginning of a training program should just be to start building that mind-muscle connection and making sure that you are aware of these movements. Right. When we bend down to pick something off the ground, we are actually doing a hinge. But over a period of time, we lose that capability. We also end up, sitting for long durations at work. And for somebody who's not worked out in a while, what ends up happening is because of sitting, our hip flexors will generally be, it's flexed. It's in an active position. So they end up becoming short, tight and weak. Right. And because it's becoming tight, the movement become very dysfunctional. And I'm talking about a squat. So if the hip flexors are tight and I squat, my upper body is definitely going to fall forward. And that's what happens with a lot of people. So initially what they need to do is just start learning these basic movement patterns.
But how can people learn these movement patterns? Or see, we have to put this in the context of, in India, there are only about 5 million people, 50 lakh people who go to any kind of gym, including cult gyms. But a lot of people don't go to any gym. They've never been to any gym in their life. They're probably seeing some signs of, either they're starting to gain weight or energy levels are going down or feeling mentally foggy. But the initial inertia to overcome that, I don't do anything, I'm well set in my life. Now I need to have that initial breakthrough where I start doing something.
Yeah.
What can you say? Like, how can people start?
I think first step in that case would be to start small and simple.
Right.
Don't do anything that you feel is going to be hard for you in the long run. Eventually people will progress. If they work out consistently, they will not even realize that they become stronger. They are doing things that they once thought were impossible.
Yeah.
So the first step would be to make sure that you have your probably, or if you want to go for a walk, you have your walking shoes.
Right.
Even if you don't end up going for the walk, make sure that you put those walking shoes on in the morning, because that starts connecting exercise with your identity. So whether or not you go for a walk, you put the shoes on.
Right.
That's the first step. Once you've mastered that, make sure that you are going for that walk.
Right.
The framework that I follow for people who are completely starting out or people who are coming back after a long break is that if you are able to just do a leisure walk for 20 minutes without having to take a break. In reality, there are a lot of people who will end up taking break in a 20 minutes leisure walk also. Now, I don't want this to be at an intensity where you can't make a conversation. It needs to be at an intensity where, if you and I are walking, we are able to actually engage in a great conversation. So that intensity for 20 minutes. The moment you've hit that, it could be 5 minutes today.
Right.
Do 6 minutes tomorrow, do 7 minutes day after, and just go to 20 minutes. The moment you've achieved 20 minutes without having to break it is the time when you can actually start doing brisk walking.
Right.
That's also the time when you can start thinking of including some sort of mobility and strength training in your routine. Now, a great way would be to start with a very basic yoga. Surya Namaskar is like a full body mobility exercise.
Surya Namaskar is not basic.
I mean, it's by basic, what I mean is that you don't have to go to a gym for it.
Right.
You can do it. You can do it at home, and you don't have to do 108 Surya Namaskar. Just do one each side. But it starts somewhere. You need to make sure that your joints are moving.
And basically, Rishabh, you are this ultra fit athlete, and you keep going it to 100 Surya Namaskar. I need to pull you back, man. I'm talking about somebody who has never done anything. I think forward bend itself is an ordeal probably today. But I liked what you were saying. I think 10 to 20 minutes of leisurely walk, every person able to do, unless you have a major handicap. I think that's a great starting point. Then building from there, you go from 20-minute to 30-minute walk. Brisk walk is a great idea. And so those kind of, tools, I feel generally, even just sitting down on the floor and getting up, sitting down, getting up. One of the things I have started doing now in a lot of my meetings, I just stand. And you have seen me in the office, right? There's 20 people in the room. In my one corner, I'm just standing. And, and while you're standing, you're always shifting your weight from one leg to another. Blood circulation is better. You're burning some calories.
Correct.
I think there are a lot of these things, where people can just start being little mobile and active.
Yeah, I think that's one great example. I think you've mentioned this in Hacking Health also. Right, standing would burn X percentage more calories than sitting. I think fidgeting is a great way of
I can start doing this now.
People who fidget a lot are generally, burning quite a bit of calories while at rest,
Right.
and are also generally on the leaner side because their caloric output is higher. So I think just sitting and fidgeting around is probably something that can be a good start that way. Taking just small walk breaks in between meetings can be a really good way of going about it. So if you're used to scheduling 60-minute meetings, schedule 50 minutes and take a 10-minute leisurely walk. A few hacks that people use is park your car a little far away.
Right. Yeah. Great idea.
So you end up walking up and down after parking. And
I think walking and stairs are available to everybody any day, even if it's just one flight of stairs. That's a good way to start being active. And
just try not using the elevator. If it is, of course, 1 or 2 or 3 floors, just try to use the stairs.
I think walking stairs reminds me of so my father is quite has always been very active all his life, still quite healthy, and he used to go to his office on a cycle, and in the morning he will drive 5 kilometers, work for 4 hours, then lunch he used to come home again on the cycle. And at the time, I mean, at some point I used to feel sorry for him that why doesn't he have a scooter or a car and why he cycle. But in retrospect, I feel it was great for him. I think he was exercising physically using a cycle. Now cycling is also available to all of us, right? I mean, these are things which could be first step to start.
Exactly. This is something that I do generally after meals when I'm at office. There are these bikes and things at our office floor. So I just sit on one of those bikes and just easy pedal for whatever time I can make. Max 10 minutes. But if I have 5 minutes, I'll do it for 5 minutes. And I think this is what I think what you're also trying to hint towards is that don't go for all or nothing.
Right, exactly.
Even if it is 1 or 2 minutes of movement, it counts. And just make sure that you find the opportunities of doing something which is movement.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of people get into a point where they haven't been active for a long period of time. So from there to go to gym for the first class is just a hill they can never climb. So you need to start getting in the pattern of movement and work your way towards getting into, so you can actually one day go to a gym and do something there.
Yeah, I think that going to a gym is of course a big step for a lot of people. Something that I realized while I was at one of these family functions that generally I see people in my family and otherwise getting a little more health aware, and I saw people were tracking a few number of steps, and people who would in my my extended family, people who would generally be a little more sedentary otherwise, and I'm used to seeing them being a little sedentary. They're like, after eating, just walking in that room, in the hotel room, up and down. And like, why? I want to complete my steps. And I think that's great. Because it started with just the awareness that I have to do these steps. So that, I think, worked as a good
steps are, great way for people to just get moving And now with all the fitness tracker, every single phone also has the accelerometer, so you can track your steps, and people can start even starting with 5,000-6,000 steps a day, working towards 10,000 steps a day, and you can get quite crazy with that. I had a colleague of mine at our digital, Madan. He apparently completed a whole marathon in his apartment. Just running up and down the corridor, God knows how many hours. But if he can do a whole marathon inside an apartment, I think people have no excuse to be able to do 5,000 or 10,000 steps at least in their living space.